Talk Show. It is my absolute pleasure to be joined alongside Gavin Tony as we get started on this Tuesday afternoon. It is 12 o'clock here, July 14th, about halfway through July. Quite crazy this month. Summer altogether is going by really fast. Gavin, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. It feels like we've been in summer for a long time. For those who may or may not know, our school has been shut down since March 5th, 15th, 15th.
Yep, about
Yeah, March
mid-March.
15th. So we've been in the summer for a good couple months now, and it's actually hot outside. So I'm tempted to go outside. I might do that later. But how you doing, sir?
I'm doing good. No, like you said, it's definitely hot outside. Weather's nice out. Might as well take advantage of it while we can. We got 8 days until the first NBA scrimmage, 10 days until the Phillies' first game, and about 17 days until the Flyers' first game, and the Union are already playing. So, Gavin, we've already got some sports starting to come back. I'm very excited for it. The PGA Tour's back. Things are starting to roll back out. Obviously, it has to be done safely given the current situation, but how are you feeling about it?
Feeling good. It's gonna be great for us because we will have stuff to report. After Sixers games and Flyers games. I know we can get Adam on here to talk about that and John with the MLS. So it's gonna be a great month coming up and a great rest of the shows after that. But I'm a little concerned about one thing, and it revolves on the NBA and the bubble. Not happy with it.
And yes, we'll definitely get to that today again as we continue to expand the show. We're currently working on our website. We're continuing to improve our social media channels. We are going to be doing some pre and post game shows for the Sixers as well as the Phillies. We're going to play around a little bit, see how some of that works. We might do some live streams. So just stay tuned on our social media channels. Twitter, we send the link out every day, or you can just go to the channel itself. If you are subscribed, then you can always press that ringer button so that we can make sure we send reminders out to you when we do go live. So make sure you stay tuned for that. A lot more exciting stuff continuing to come as we progress as a show.
Yep.
All righty, let's get to it, Gavin. We're going to be starting today with the NBA, talking about the Philadelphia Sixers. Now, we did leave off of yesterday's show talking about the Los Angeles Lakers and Rajon Rondo's injury, how that's going to affect it, and what it means if LeBron does take that team to the title. We had a good discussion about that. You can always check that out in our description for different videos here. But today we're talking about the Sixers on the Eastern side. We know that the East is rather weak, at least this year it is, and there's maybe 2 or 3 legitimate contenders. So here's the deal. Ben Simmons, 6'10", point guard. Now, it's
Hmm.
tall for a point guard. He has the size of potentially a center. Him and Anthony Davis are pretty similar in height. But he's been playing point guard his entire career. He's been practicing at the 4 the past week. Brett Brown made the announcement. It looks like that right now, if the games were to start today, the starting lineup would be Shake Milton at the 1, Josh Richardson at the 2, Tobias Harris at the 3, Ben Simmons at the 4, and Joel Embiid at the 5. It's a rather fascinating case. People have asked before, why doesn't Ben Simmons play power forward? Obviously, the lack of jump shot's not going to help. But now you take the pressure off him to have to shoot and be a playmaker because he can be inside and do similar things to Embiid. And then you have 3 shooters at the top of the key. Again, Tobias Harris needs to really step up and be a shooter if he is going to hold that that small forward position for the team. Josh Richardson, and then obviously Shake Milton, how he looks coming out of the hiatus as well. So, Gavin, let me ask you this. Could this be the change the Sixers needed? If so, why? And obviously, if not, why as well?
Well, finally, Brett Brown has listened to us. He's listened to a whole bunch of fans. We've been saying this for a little while. And look, Ben Simmons doesn't have to shoot threes. All right, he's not the Steph Curry, the Kemba Walker, the Ray Allen. If he does 15 footers, that would be fantastic enough. And then you think about the spacing on the top of the key would be fantastic. You don't have a guy up there that won't shoot the three, and then it's hard to pass the ball inside the Joel Embiid because your defender's staying there right in front of the free throw line, waiting for you to crash like you always do. So what does this mean? That means you got room for Shake Milton, you got room for Josh Richardson, and you got room for Tobias Harris to play up. You and Joel Embiid can play down, and you can take mid-range shots to make the paint even more open for Joel Embiid. I like this idea. And we're not saying that Ben Simmons can't, create, use his ball playmaking skills for any other use. He can still get the ball down low and, give and go. Shake Milton gives him the ball and then Shake goes and he gives it back. You can still do that. I like the spacing on this team. I know our great friend of the show, Philly, and now we had a great conversation about this about 30 minutes ago, and he said, you know what? The spacing on this team and the shooting should be better now because everybody should have their own spot on the key. And it's not like Shake Milton is a bad point guard either.
I agree. So I think about this as well. If Ben did have that one quick release corner three, which is known a lot of power forwards do that, where you have a guy posting up, you absorb the double team, you kick it out to Ben Simmons. If Ben can shoot it, that's going to be a true game changer for this team.
Yeah, no doubt. Like I said, he doesn't have to take threes. Everyone thinks, well, if he shoots, it has to be threes. The mid-range game gets overlooked nowadays. Michael Jordan, not trying to rant the good debate, Michael Jordan was a great mid-range shooter as well. Before the three-point, I know Michael Jordan can hit a three, but the mid-range game was back in the day. Now that guys like Steph Curry, they bring up the three-point game. So it'll be interesting to see. I like this new offense that Brett Brown's running. Maybe Brett Brown is finally listening or sees something different or sees it our way now. I like it.
I agree. I think that this team does have what it takes. If Shake Milton can rise to the occasion, I think that he can. All he has to really shoot is the shooting delegate, and Ben will still bring the ball up a lot, I think, for them. But at least the spacing can be better with Shake Milton on the floor. Ben can defend 1 through 5. He'll probably pick up He'll probably pick up LeBron James actually, and then Anthony Davis and Embiid will be on each other. But I think that this team has the potential to really do something and really be destructive if they go with this route. It does come down to three-point shooting, though. Bully ball and three-point shooting, double teaming, being able to kick it out to an open shooter. Tobias Harris has to be able to be productive from beyond the arc. In my opinion, that's the biggest X factor, assuming that Ben and Joel are able to work down low successfully together. Because otherwise, if you have three guys who can't shoot, well, then you have a problem. There obviously Joel can shoot, but we don't want him to unnecessarily. Ben obviously has lack of willingness to shoot, but it's been almost an entire offseason length. So perhaps he is going to be ready to go out and shoot. And if he does shoot and he plays really well down there, it can be a game changer.
Well, for me, you're right, Zach, and I want to bring in another point. You have to be able to hit these shots. We're talking about spacing, but spacing doesn't matter if you can't hit the shot. Tobias Harris, I remember in a game last year where Tobias Harris has 26 points, and he went lights out from three. We need that more. We need Josh Richardson to hit threes as well, and Shake Milton to do what he did to deserve to be up in the starting rotation. I think Joel Embiid will be fine. I don't want to see that many threes. I think he should shoot three max, max. And that's only if he miss. If he misses two and makes one, I'm like, maybe not your day. If he makes all three, then I'm like, well, go ahead, go for it. The number has to be better than the great. It has to be greater than the bad. For me as well, Ben Simmons. I think you talked about coexisting with each other. Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid will do just fine down low with each other. I think with Ben's playmaking and Joel Embiid's height, and when Joel Embiid, I've said this before, I'm gonna say again. When Joel Embiid is healthy, he's arguably the best center in the league. Maybe even third best player in the East. I know John Wall is not playing, Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant, but right now I think Joel Embiid has the potential to be the third best player in the East, third or fourth. Big man wise, second best because Giannis is considered a power forward center, but that's just my opinion.
Valid points, and so bringing up that point as far as what this team can do, shooting is going to be important. Coexisting obviously is important as well. Do you see Ben Simmons picking up a similar role to Draymond Green now, or do you think he and Draymond Green should not be compared? I know you feel very indifferent about Green, and I don't think it is an embarrassment to compare him to Simmons. Both top defensive players, both very good at delegating the ball and getting that extra pass. And Ben's always a pass-first guy, gets boards, gets blocks and steals. Again, his defense is really good. I think Ben is a much more dominant scorer potentially. I'm curious to see how this works, but do you see him potentially having a similar role to that of Draymond Green on the Warriors?
Well, remember when Kevin Durant joined the Golden State Warriors, Draymond Green was arguably the third option to score the ball. He was able to shoot the ball too. I'll take you back to the when they blew the 3-1 lead. Remember, Draymond Green, if he doesn't get suspended, I think they win that game in Oracle and they go on to win that series. But obviously, LeBron happened, and don't get me started. But to call Ben Simmons Draymond Green, I don't believe so. I still think Ben Simmons is their second option to score. After Kevin Durant left, what has Draymond Green done? Remember guys, Draymond Green has played the whole year this year, missed maybe 2 or 3 games, but he hasn't done nothing. He's declined. He's a great defender. He's a great defender and passer, but I don't think the comparison to it's not wrong, but it's not right either. I think when I kind of see Ben Simmons at the 4, he reminds me like of a more athletic Blake Griffin, more like faster Blake Griffin. Like he's a point forward to be exact. If you were to put him at small forward, which wouldn't make sense right now because of Tobias Harris, But Ben Simmons is like LeBron James. A point forward, 6'10". He's taller than LeBron. Uh, he
He's
can
very
move
fast, good
very
defending.
fast. He has handles too. So if you want to talk comparisons, I see LeBron James.
I think it's a good comparison. I think a lot of people had that comparison coming out of college for Ben Simmons. He's very. I think people don't understand how athletic he really is. 6'10", and to do all that he does is kind of really impressive. So let me ask you this before we shift on to our next question for the Sixers. What is Ben Simmons' stat line for you to consider him a success and be part of the system going into the playoffs? I believe he's averaging 16 right now points per game. Let me get his stats up. But he's averaging 16 points a game right now, 16.7 on 58% shooting. He's actually shooting 33% from beyond the arc. He has 8 rebounds, 8 assists, 2 steals, and half a block per game. So right now, what does his stat line have to be in order to become a success for this team moving forward?
I'm thinking around the 18 to 17 range, around 18, 19 maybe. 10 rebounds when Joel Embiid is off the floor. Go get the ball. Assist. I see his assist numbers going down because you're down low. I don't really expect you to be able to do what you normally do. Maybe 6 assists. Blocks. I think blocks maybe 2 blocks per game. Maybe. Steals. I don't know if you're in the passing lanes. Maybe. Like I said, Ben Simmons really athletic. You don't know, but for me personally, it would be 18 points, 10 rebounds, a little bit under 10, maybe 9.5, not or 9.5, and maybe like 5 assists, 5 or 6 assists. That would be considered a success for me, and a win, obviously.
Yes, definitely. That's going to be really important. Could you see Ben Simmons playing the 5 when Joel's off the court as well? And maybe Al Horford and him can switch it up. But I think potentially me personally, Ben has played the 5 a little bit before. I think he potentially could be the one that does do that. And that'd be rather fascinating to see.
I don't want to see Ben at the 5. It could work, but I like Ben at the 4. I think 4 would be max for me in the playoffs.
All right, now let's shift gears as far as how far the Sixers could go, how deep they are as a team. Last year, they had 2 guys off the bench pretty much, 3 guys at most. Mostly it was Mike Scott and James Ennis. Who are your top 3 to 4 guys you have on your bench as you get later into the playoffs this year?
Everybody's inconsistent on this bench. I don't know. If for me personally, it would be Furkan, Al Horford, and then the third guy is a mix. I would think Kyle Quinn. Is whoever. It would have to be whoever's hot that day. The bench, we know the bench is notoriously not the best for the Sixers and never has been. I think if you put together Furkan, Al Horford, and maybe Mike Scott, maybe Kyle Quinn. I don't know. The bench is not the best. It's not like Brooklyn's where you can have Karis LeVert and Joe Harris coming off the bench with either Allen coming off the bench. Like, we don't have that bench. We have very select few. So, Zach, let me ask you this question. Who would you want to see off the bench?
Well, I think the number one's Al Horford. That's why he's here. For when Joel was not in the playoffs, the plus minus was huge last year against the Raptors when Embiid was not on the court, even though he was sick actually and he was playing some games. He played pretty well. But with that being said, yes, Al Horford's my number one guy. I'm taking off the bench at obviously the center position, not power forward position. Matisse Thybulle is a interesting pick for me. He has to prove that he can shoot. I know for the bench, our team's goal is to defensively hold down the court. But yeah, Thybulle for me is hot and cold. But I do think that for the other guys, Alec Burks is a really good shooter, and him and Glenn Robinson came up from Golden State. They both have an opportunity here. And then you start getting down to Mike Scott and Kyle Quinn. It's just there's 2 buried on that list. I don't see any of them really getting in. Again, the first round you'll get pretty deep in your bench, but the second round you're going down 3-4 guys. And then by the NBA Finals, you are going to be at most 3 to 4 deep. So, no, those are some of my general thoughts. And the final question on this: how far do you think the Sixers can go? Are they a legit Finals contender if this works as well as it does? That being Ben Simmons going to the 4.
See, this is the best part about the hiatus right here is every team has not played, that we know of, has not played basketball in the last 3 to 3.5 months. Every team is starting at 0. Whatever streak you was on doesn't matter no more. You're at 0 now. Your record is still there, but it mentally is 0-0 for all teams. If there's a time for the Sixers to go out and win a championship, it's right now. The playing field is level. Everybody is going into this thing healthy, unless you're the Lakers who just lost somebody. I think as well, if you want to put together that the East is weak. There's no Kyrie, there's no KD, there's no John Wall. Orlando's a hit or miss. Pascal Siakam can only do but so much, and Giannis will. If the conference finals shows up again, it could be easy. The only team that fears me is Boston. I fear Boston. Boston, as you said, Zach, is a team built for everybody. It's matched well everywhere. Tatum at power forward this year, wow. They got a role playing center, and everybody else is primary. And their bench isn't that bad with Carson Edwards coming up with Marcus Smart.
Marcus Smart.
That's the team I fear the most.
I agree. I think that the Bucks are still definitely my biggest concern. I think Boston, for us, if we really can get in the groove, are not going to be that big of a challenge. I've asked you this question before, Gavin, but now maybe your mind's changed on it as far as how Brett Brown does as a coach. As of right now, how far does Brett Brown have to take this team in order to not be fired?
Well, you got to get out of the second round. Everybody's going to say you got to go to the finals at least. I agree with them, but let's get realistic. You got to get out of the second round. The narrative is you couldn't beat Boston. And last year you could say, well, you guys, you ran into an unlucky shot. It was a travel, but that's true.
They did win the NBA Finals.
They did win the NBA Finals as well. But at the same time, we didn't know they're going to win the NBA Finals. Brett Brown has to make it out of the second round in my eyes for him to not to be fired. But I don't like Brett Brown that much. I think he's a great coach, but I think his time here is overdue. Like Marvin Lewis in Cincinnati, he had to go as well. So for me, it would have to be the conference finals. Maybe an NBA Finals appearance will solidify and make sure he stays here, but a conference finals is what we're asking for right now.
But you do like his decision to put Ben Simmons at the power forward.
Of course, I do. I think this is a great spacing. We need spacing. We talked about, if you watch games, you've seen guards on other teams know their Ben Simmons know they're not going to shoot, and he's just going to, they're just going to stand back and watch Ben just wait for him to crash, which makes it easier for everybody else to make the guard their man. I think if you put Ben at the 4 and then you got Shake at the 1, you look around, you're like, well, anyone can shoot at any time, given will, and that opens up Joel Embiid even more.
Right, and so I do want to get a comment here. A bit worried about Toronto. Personally, I'm not. And Gavin, I'm going to start with your point as well. With spacing, you have, and we're going to get Dom on the show again to really break this down. We're going to have to get him on quicker than we thought we were going to. I'll have to talk to him this week. But when you have a guy like Ben Simmons, top of the key, and the defense is playing back, Embiid and Horford, who are on the sides down low, can't get inside. If you have Milton at the top, and he's there and he can shoot the 3, they're going to play up. And then Ben down low and Joel down low. And Joel's going to have a guy on him, but Ben's going to have a guy playing a little bit back. At least Milton can move a little bit. If Ben's willing to shoot the ball, the spacing problems are fixed. And here's my next question as well, and this is one that we're both going to really have to think about. Is Shake Milton, assuming that the other part works, that Ben at the 4, Joel at the 5, is Shake Milton the answer at the point guard position? And even if he is, just to play around with it, who would be a good player that we could legitimately bring in to play the point for this team?
That's hard. I think Shake Milton is good enough for this year. I would like them to see maybe bring in a guy like Derrick Rose if this actually works. I know Derrick Rose is not the best shooter. I know he's kind of like a Ben Simmons type. Maybe you can go out and get someone else for cheaper. Maybe Reggie Jackson off the Clippers after this year. He's a shooter. It all depends on what happens. If this system works, what if Shake Milton is the answer? What if Shake Milton is that guy? I think if Shake Milton is that guy, we don't need to bring anyone else in. We can just focus on bench. Maybe get some more shooters around. But we don't know yet. We got to wait and see. That's why I'm waiting for this restart.
It's going to be tough. That's the interesting question. You don't need your point guard to drop 50 points a game. You just need – we're going to need more from Ben, same from Joel, Tobias. I think that this is a really well-functioning team. But Richardson also has to be aggressive. I think he's another X factor as well for this team. There's just too many unknowns right now for me to solidify it, but I think they should be able to get – to the conference final, and there's a good potential this team clicks really well because, Gavin, we talked about this before when Ben Simmons and Joel were having some friction, maybe not as far as a personality thing, but on the court it was obvious that they were not playing to their best. And so people were saying, why don't you trade one of them? I'm like, why would you trade generational talent? You've made it work before, and you just got to surround them with more shooting. I think that they're going to have to adapt to that. And so as it says, if Ben Simmons is left open at the three-point line, I definitely think he would shoot it. That's going to make a big difference. Because even if it doesn't go in the first time, it's going to force him to play out because he's going to make some of them. He is not a bad shooter. It's just a mental thing for him, in my opinion.
You got to be willing to shoot it, Ben. Going back to the comment, you got to be willing to shoot it. Even if you don't make it, just show defenses like, hey, I'm going to shoot this. Whether it goes in or not, that's for the ball to decide. But you guys gotta come on, come get me, and that's the thing Ben has to do is willing to shoot. Whether it doesn't fall, oh well, do it again. Make them come out and come guard you. And you go back to your point, Zach. I'm just ready to see this restart. I'm ready to say I think the Sixers are on to something this year. I think they really are. But here's a point that I want to think about. What if we had like a guy like a Mike Conley, like a playmaker, and what if Ben was able to just like shoot mid ranges and stuff? How would you like to see that on the team? Because I think that would work perfectly.
I think it would. I think that the playmakers are good, but playmakers are good when the paint's not congested. Like Derrick Rose, he's never had a dominant big man where he's not going to be able to get inside as easily. I think if you're gonna run into some guys inside, I don't think it would work as well. But the reason that Ben Simmons was able to get inside because there's no one else down low clogging up the lane last year with Tobias Harris. Without Horford there, he couldn't do as well. So I think that this is a great change, but I think that your point guard needs to be able to shoot. To answer that question, Gavin, I like playmakers, but I think that for this team specifically, it's not a great fit.
You're right. And yes, for Philly, he did say he was willing to shoot, but it's one thing to be willing. Like I'm willing to do some things, but you gotta go do it. He has to go show me he wants to shoot. Gotta wait and see.
I agree. So shifting it now, talking about next season. Let's just get to it. Instant favorites for next year. Who are your favorites for the NBA Finals of next season? Hope it's looking like it's going to start on Christmas Day again. A lot more information to come out, but it's going to probably start on Christmas Day like it did during the lockout a few years back, and maybe we'll have some exciting games today. But Gavin, who is your favorite currently for next NBA Finals?
Man, see, this is hard. There's a lot of good teams out there. You could easily say LeBron. You could easily say Kawhi. You could easily say the Warriors because the Warriors are going to be back in contention. You could easily say the Bucks. I'm gonna go with. I don't want to say obvious, maybe obvious. I'm gonna go with the Brooklyn Nets. When Kevin Durant is healthy, and when Kyrie Irving is healthy, regardless of how he acts in the locker room, Kevin Durant is probably the best scorer in the NBA. And I'm gonna come out and say maybe I don't. And it's an argument because Giannis could be up there as well. When Kevin Durant's healthy, he might be the best player in the NBA. He's hard to guard. He's 7 foot, 6'11". That's being generous. He's a 7-footer with handles and that can shoot out the gym and can play defense. He can guard 1 through 5, maybe not so much 1, maybe 2 through 5. I don't know what to say, Zach. And you got to look at Brooklyn. Brooklyn has a great bench. They got Caris LeVert. They got Joe Harris. They got either Jonathan Allen or DeAndre Jordan, whoever's coming off the bench. I don't know who the coach is going to be next year, but whoever it is going to have a great talent. And if they do somehow get Bradley Beal, like they're talking about getting because they want Bradley Beal, even though he swears he wants to be in Washington. But if I'm Bradley Beal, I want to leave Washington because there's no hope there. And they get Bradley Beal and you put Kyrie Irving together. Kyrie Irving's a great scorer himself. That team's going to be dangerous. I don't know if they're going to be instantly favorites, but they're my favorite to win a championship.
And my favorite goes to Golden State. Steph Curry, Klay Thompson's back healthy. You have Andrew Wiggins, who's a good role player. It allows Steph and Klay to really return to their scoring abilities that they would have with KD. Draymond Green, I think, is going to stay. Gav, we talk about Giannis all the time, but I think that Draymond Green's going to hold that position at the 4. And then James Wiseman comes in at the 5 position. I really like what Golden State is. So if both of our predictions come true, we have the Golden State Warriors versus the Brooklyn Nets. Kevin Durant's facing his former team. Kyrie Irving's facing the team he once beat in the NBA Finals. How does that series look, Gavin?
Well, I think it goes to 7. And I think it goes to 7. I think the Warriors win at the end of the day. It live and die by the 3 is what the Warriors are played by. This team will win by the 3 and they'll definitely lose by the 3. I watched multiple games where Steph Curry went 2 for 14 and Klay went like 1 for 13. It happens. It happens to all of us. Now, if you want to go, you can make a case for Brooklyn saying, well, Steph Curry's defense. Steph Curry's an underrated defender, in my opinion. He's gotten better. Kyrie Irving's defense it's here or there. But you got to look at defense. Kevin Durant, who's going to guard Kevin Durant? Draymond Green. I still think that somehow, some way, if the Bucks don't win, I think Giannis goes there. And if Giannis goes, I think Draymond Green walks.
Draymond Green defending Kevin Durant, Gavin. How does that look to you?
I still think Kevin Durant's going to get his because of the height. but it won't be easy, and there's going to be a lot of arguing. It's going to be like Pat Bev versus Kevin Durant last year.
So here's my next question to you. What are the odds that a fight breaks out between Kevin Durant and Draymond Green in that series? At least once. Maybe a game 6 suspension for Draymond again.
It's like a side bet in poker. I put 100 on it.
We'll have to revisit that as we continue just looking a little forward there, but now we're going to trace it a little bit more back. Still talking about the NBA, of course. The bubble. Most players are there. For those who have seen, Matisse Thybulle has posted some videos from in there. They were criticizing the food at first, but it seems like the chefs are there. Everyone's been quarantined. Everyone's allowed to roam in the bubble. They're out playing sports, fishing. We see Boban and Tobias talking to each other. It's been kind of a funny back and forth. On my Twitter feed, I've had the opportunity to take a look at that. But Rashawn Holmes, a former Sixer, the Kings' backup center, left the bubble yesterday, or maybe a few days ago. I think it was 3 days ago, actually, to get some food. He came back, was caught, and now must quarantine for 10 days in his hotel room. I assume they're going to do some testing on him to make sure he's not bringing the virus back. Gavin, I know you have a lot you want to say about this, so I'll kind of let you open it up, and then we'll go from there.
Zach, this is why I mentioned to you on Friday. I said, people like him will do things like that, and it'll be over the, I don't want to say silliest reason, because, I like food too. I like to eat. I'm a big food head. I could get it. The food the first day was horrible, but people like this is what's going to make the bubble hard, because they're going to want to leave. They want to do something. His reasoning was wanting to go eat, wanting to go get something to eat, and that's like the slightest reason of everything. And there's a comment that says, so did at Rockets Center. I didn't hear about that, but Philly a great source for us, so I believe it. So back to what I was saying, Zach, this is what makes the bubble hard, because people get eager and they want to do things, and they're going to do silly things. This is the silliest things all. And luckily, no team is playing yet. But what if that was during the time? What if that was during the time of the game? The games are just starting. You missed 10 days. That's what? Maybe 3-4 games tops. All depends on how it goes. If there's a game every day, we don't know.
Yeah.
So me personally, I'm gonna say this. This could ruin the bubble, because if, let's say he does bring the virus back, it's kind of like one of those panic things. Am I going to get it? The virus air is in the hotel now. Is it going to get around? I kind of want to go home. These are the things that are going to start popping up around the hotel, the resorts. Even without the virus, people want to go home after a while. It may seem all like living life cool and fun, but at the end of the day, when stuff gets real, people want to go home.
The quality of life perspective, obviously, these are people first and players second. I think the quality of life is pretty good in the bubble, and so a lot of them were complaining about it. But there was some backlash online. I'm not really going to give a full opinion on that, but it's tough when you're asked to go to a place where you have to be isolated for a little while. But it is a unique situation, so that's my first take. It's very important to understand that the situation, and I respect all the players that are willing to do that sacrifice. It's your job. I think that it's crucial that you get to decide what you want to do, especially when you're an NBA player and you are able to sustain yourself without pay for a little bit of time. Now, they weren't punished. Adam Silver made it very clear they're not going to punish guys for deciding not to go. But with that being said, these guys financially are fine if they don't go. These guys all made the conscious decision to go. The quality of life seems fair enough in the bubble for a few months. Again, I'm not really able to speak on that because I'm not forced to go in there. With that being said, these players did choose to go there. They should have a right to leave when they want to without punishment. But once you leave, you're done. And I think that's the biggest takeaway from it. They have the choice to do so. They've had plenty of time to decide. Some guys opted out. Some guys didn't. Most didn't, actually. And they care enough to either win, get experience, or play together with their team, or if you're Victor Oladipo, going to be with your team in support of them, than to not go and decide to abandon your team. So, again, it came up to the players' personal decisions. This was their decision. In my opinion, it is going to be successful. There's daily testing. They're doing the right things. Gavin, I understand your point about the workers and things like that. Hopefully nothing happens there. It's going to be walking on eggshells a little bit. But from the players' perspective alone, I think they're doing the right things.
Well, we just have to wait and see. There was a number out, and I had it and I lost it. But they tested like 322 players, and all of them came back negative except for like 2 players, which that's really good. You know, props to Adam Silver. I know we always talk about how great Adam Silver is, but this is not going to be one of those moments. For me, I look at the bubble and it seems like paradise, but like it's just those little things, the little itty bitty things that people wouldn't think that would be problems or problems. Workers going to and from, and then you got and then the players going around. Now I saw Chris Paul wearing his mask while they're playing cornhole. That's cool. At least you're taking the proper precautions. But there's one thing, Zach, that I'm also worried about, but not as worried as I was before. Is what about like the entertainment, like keeping them, entertained inside the bubble? Like you can only do so many things, so many times for a certain time. Zach, there goes the ringer. And for me, like when we were in quarantine, I told you, Zach, I said, playing PS4 every day gets old. It gets old after a while. You need to do everything. So let me just sum it all. My really main concern is the eagerness to go do something that you're not supposed to go do. As you can see, Rashawn Holmes, even though it was just to go get something to eat, that was something he wasn't supposed to do, but it was something eat like something little, and you could ruin a lot of things.
Yeah, and just a reminder though, the 10 days is not a punishment or a suspension. It's a safety measure. Just to make sure people understand that. I think that yeah, I mean, if you're getting daily testing, that's in my opinion. I've emphasized this a lot. Again, I'm not a doctor or a scientist, but in my opinion, daily testing is the key to opening the world back up until there's either a vaccine or herd immunity or a cure or something along those lines to help decrease deaths, things like that. The only way we're going to be able to know is if you get testing every day, you have instant results, which is a big problem, especially in our country because of how many people are testing. But if you're able to get testing where it's like, okay, I'm negative, I can go out and do whatever. You don't need a face mask at that point, things like that. If you don't know if you're maybe Chris Paul got a test, is waiting for his results, and maybe just doesn't know, safe precaution to wear a face mask, a good gesture to show that you should be wearing a face mask. I think that those things are important for people that don't understand why some people don't wear face masks. Keep in mind, these guys are pretty much getting tested every day. So for baseball, they're doing saliva testing. I'm not sure if the NBA is doing saliva testing or the more uncomfortable method through the nose. Yeah, so I don't know all those full details, but I think that it is going to work. But the only big factor is just preventing spread from outside workers inside. And I feel like they do have enough entertainment there. They have room for in each team to hang out. They're playing basketball all day. They're having fun, going fishing. It's kind of like a vacation, just playing basketball. And I get it, a long time. It could take an emotional toll on you maybe later on. There's better precautions we can take against the coronavirus as we continue to progress in the medical community. So these guys maybe don't have to isolate. Maybe in baseball, who isn't doing a bubble, can actually demonstrate that there's ways to safely not have to have a quarantine or a bubble method, and maybe they can implement that as the season continues to progress. And then from there, I also want to have another statement here. Victor Oladipo yesterday's growing belief that he might end up playing. He is practicing with the team, things like that. But no, tracing it back to that, Gavin. I think that's the biggest risk right now is just outside people coming in, not necessarily the players' urges to go outside the bubble.
Real quick question for you: Christmas Day next year, where are the league's about to start up? Where are they, and will there be fans?
So it's tough. Looking at it from a medical side, I try to stay up to date with it. Just facts only, not really opinions. But it looks like that a vaccine they're aiming for January, somewhere along there, and that people are very mixed opinion on that. I'm not going to really voice my opinion as I really don't do for anything. But there's people out there with certain beliefs that maybe the harm rate of a vaccine is more than the death rate for a certain age group. But obviously, if you're an older age group, you're going to want to make sure that you're protected, however way you feel it is. And so there's also things like any antivirals that maybe can work. I know that hydrochloroquine's been a very hot topic, talked about by everybody, and research is being done on it. They're doing their due diligence to see if it does help. They're having promising research recently on it, very recently, but we don't know. It's too hard for me to tell as far as comfortability of people. In my opinion, at the end of the day, it's personal responsibility. If you want to go watch a basketball game, you sign a waiver, you wear a mask, you go inside. But with that, at the same time, you don't want to have to close the world down because of a vast spread of the virus or something like that. You also have to take into consideration what happens if we do lock down, again, drug abuse, depression, things like that. But your question comes back to it. As far as how I see stadiums, I can see 50% capacity
50?
every other seat. I can't see. I think prepackaged food, hand sanitizers everywhere, mask requirements when you're not eating. I do see people being back in the stadiums for next year. For the NFL season, I also see about half capacity as well. I'm seeing that being a more likely chance. Now, Florida and Texas, where cases are rising, I don't know, but we're going to have to see what happens. Philadelphia specifically is not allowing public events until February. Yeah, that makes sense. Again, we don't know what's it's gonna look like. Obviously, that pushes back football as well, but we'll see what happens. So, in my opinion, just looking at what basketball looks like, I do think that 50% capacity is probably the maximum of how it's going to be.
You're right. Me personally, I think NBA is going to be just fine next year. I've been optimistic. I've been a positive person through this whole thing. Zach, you know it. I always keep saying, well, the winter time. I keep talking about the winter. Even though the flu, that's when the flu says it's worse. Um, I'm not a scientist. I'm not a doctor. I'm not any one of these things above. But what I'm about to say, it makes me wonder: is all these deaths, right? Are we sure they're really COVID deaths or they're deaths from something else? Like you said, drug overdose, depression, uh, you know, missed cancer diagnosis, like all the above, and they're just labeling under COVID-19 stuff. I wonder that too. I wonder, and I don't know, sir, if you had the same thinking or wondering as me, but I believe 15 or maybe 25% capacity, lower level only. No fans in the first 3 rows, I would think, and two seats in between with mask and food. I think there might be a designated limited area for food. Maybe like a little spot, in the Wells Fargo Center, there's a PJ Wilhan, so maybe like that spot for Sixers fans. And only a limited amount of people in there per time because it's 15%, 25%.
Yeah, that PJ I had Inferno Wings once before a game, and it was not a very fun experience for me. So maybe I'll have to worry about that. But no, let me break a few things down here, like Gavin said. For me personally, we're about balance. Gavin, we emphasize all the time. It's about equality, balance, making sure that we know what we're talking about. So when we talk about like opening schools up or opening the economy up, it's not that we're saying that the coronavirus is not a threat. There are people out there who believe it's a myth and it's not a real virus. It's not. That's not me. There's one extreme that believes that. There's one extreme that believes that if you come in contact with it, you're dead automatically. I'm in the middle, and Gavin, I believe you are too. We've had good discussions about this. I'll make this very clear right now. The coronavirus is not the only thing killing people. It's not good that it's killing people. It's scary because the new virus. Death rates continue to fall. As much as some people are not maybe upset, but maybe perhaps they don't understand why the case spikes aren't correlating with the deaths. It's a good thing. We should be happy. The cases keep going up. We went from like 40 up to 20,000 to 60,000 cases, which means 4 times more people are being tested, yet over 10 times less are dying. And you take a look at the death rate. At first, it was like as much as 2,500 people a day. Yesterday, 214 people died. Day before that, 700. Day before that, 300. Day before that, about 200. It's a pattern. It goes a little bit up, a little down, a little up, a little down. It's been like this for a few months now. So I'm not saying to not be scared of it. I'm not saying not to wear a mask. Please wear a mask when you go out. If it's what it will take to open this world back up, please do it. Do not make a political statement by not wearing a mask. But in Pennsylvania, it's not an issue. Everybody I see is wearing a mask. But and as he said, the reason it's scary is because it is new and we don't know a lot about it. It's been a few months now. It's been about 4 months since the world locked down. March 13th, the day that the whole world shut down pretty much. There's going to be a documentary about that one day. But the reality of the situation is that, again, missed cancer diagnosis, things like that are also big factors. We talk about sending kids back to school. And yes, kids can die from the coronavirus. Parents are old. Or I'm sorry, teachers are old and kids can bring it home to their parents, etc. But also, what is the pitfall of having kids stay at home? Is there a lack of education? Is there depression? Is there things like that? Again, the suicide hotline has went up significantly since this all started. So just to wrap this up before we move on to our next topic, which is still related to the coronavirus, talking about 2 big NBA players. It's not that we are saying the coronavirus doesn't do any harm. It's that the precautions that we take to prevent the coronavirus from causing havoc on our society cannot be worse than the virus itself. If shutting down the world decreases cancer diagnosis, which is not a good thing. I mean, people are walking around with early stages of cancer and ignoring symptoms because they're afraid to go to the hospital because the media makes it like the whole world is on fire. But That's the first part. Depression, drug abuse. Those all kill people. Getting in a car could also kill you. It's a horrible analogy because perhaps time's not the best. But if you get in a car, you are risking your life because you could get in an accident. You could die. I've known people that have died in car accidents. And so it's not, I mean, everything you do in your life takes risk. That's the truth. Every food you eat could be undercooked, could have bacteria in it that could kill you. Every car you get in could crash and you could die. Every airplane you get in could fall out of the sky. I'm not saying to go outside and lick poles or to not wear a mask or to cough on people, but we have to be smart and we have to be conscious of what's going on. If you are immune compromised, I feel for you right now. You have to take this very seriously, and I understand that. But allow society that is able to go out and take the risk to keep society moving forward so that there is a world to come back to for you when we are able to get through all this, whether it's a vaccination or a antiviral or herd immunity. Those are my final thoughts on that before we get on to the next part. Gavin, anything else from you?
Well, no, well said. And I'm gonna just emphasize. Look, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a scientist. Exact same thing. Um, I'm not saying go outside and go lick a pole or go outside and go hug some random person. Not doing it. I just want you to know, every time you step outside your house, everything you do, you get in your car, you're walking down the street, anything could happen. Undercooked food, but we just gotta play it like we always do. Play it safe, play it normal, and keep it going. If you're not doing anything outrageous, then you should be okay. I That's enough said. Well said, by the way, Zach. Well said.
Right. Just one more point I did want to bring up. If you sit in a car, you can die in a car accident, but there are airbags, but there are seatbelts, and there's consciously safe drivers with laws. The same thing must apply with the coronavirus and anything for that matter. And people get sick from the cold. If you get numbers like that, cold and flu can be scary. But the coronavirus has taken over 100,000 people in the United States. Again, the legitimacy of those numbers can be questioned, but we are going to take the benefit of the doubt and assume that those were legitimate coronavirus deaths. It's very unfortunate. We don't want people dying, and that's why it is so scary. We'll continue to touch on that as we continue talking about James Harden and Russell Westbrook. It was reported a few days ago that they did not travel with the team. I personally did think that this was what it was. And then yesterday, right after the show, the news broke that James Harden and Russell Westbrook both had the coronavirus. They're 2 days in their quarantine. They're a few days in. They're expected to meet the team next week in Orlando. Once they're tested double negative, they'll be able to go. Gavin, perhaps some thoughts on that as we saw this development. Again, it's not uncommon to see the coronavirus. Like when Rudy Gobert and Donovan Mitchell we were all scared. We didn't know what was going to happen. And so a lot of players have fought it successfully. Again, I'm not going to speak for everybody. I think it's unfair to generalize, but a lot of the players that we've seen that have been diagnosed, Ezekiel Elliott had it. He's fine now. And now he's immune to it. Again, the long-term effects could be scary in the future. We don't know what those are. But based on the data we have right now, it's not unfortunately, we know people that have been diagnosed with late-stage cancer. That's very scary. And I'm not going to say that this is not scary. But fortunately, people aren't getting as scared about it. I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing. But James Harden and Russell Westbrook both had it. We're praying for them. We hope that they recover correctly and they're able to go on with their team and be able to participate in the events.
Well, first, I didn't know. I knew Russ and Harden didn't travel with team. I thought personal reasons, obviously. Then the news broke that it was COVID-19, and then obviously when they get to Orlando, they have to sit in the room for a good 3 days maximum before they can go out and join everybody else. Look, when this whole first broke out, Rudy Gobert, I know the internet tore him apart. I was included. I was doing on the Rudy Gobert jokes. But we gotta realize, now that we know what happens, now that we've seen what happens, now we know what we can do what happens. Now it's time to put what happened not in the past, but this is a great time to reflect on it. Things are open now. The NBA is coming back. I know people in the NBA reflected. You see the Sixers just on their Instagram post, in big labels, wear your mask. We wear ours during practice. You can wear yours walking down the street. So, seeing two good stars like James Harden and Russell Westbrook catch the coronavirus, every time someone, Zach, that star gets it, when they're done or when they're over their virus after the 14-day period, what is the first thing they always tell you to do? Take it seriously, wear your mask, practice social distancing, which I don't know, because 6 feet. When you sneeze, wind can travel anywhere. So I think 6 feet might be not far enough. But what are you gonna do? Stand 20 feet back? That's too far from a lot of things. But just be smart about how you move. These guys, I'm pretty sure these guys are playing as smart as well, but things happen. That's how I view it as. They're going to join their team. Obviously, people are going to be a little bit skeptical, at first, when they first see them, but that's going to be everybody. Zach, when I had a cold, no one wanted to walk around me in the hallways. That's how it happens. But they're going to be okay. They're going to join the team. They missed a little bit of time, but they didn't miss much. And besides, these two are really great superstars.
Right now, and so I mean, talking about the virus, how scary it can be for it to spread. Everything spreads, cold, flu. I've seen kids in school sneezing and all that stuff. It's never, I wouldn't say it's never concerned me. I think it definitely opens your eyes a little bit more on the awareness, but I think the awareness is what counts. With that being said, Gavin, talking about here with the Houston Rockets, again, the first thing a lot of these guys like to say is that take it seriously. So I agree with that on that point very much. But here's another question. We have two more questions on this before we get to our final segment of the day, which is reviewing the Madden ratings of the top 10 quarterbacks. We have a lot to talk about with that. But talking about this, do you think that players that have had the virus and have tested positive for the antibody but are now negative for the virus present in their body should be allowed to leave and come back to the bubble?
I think so. After you have it once, your body builds this immune system, or I like to call it a little wall, a little perimeter for it. So if it were to come back, your body fights it off better because now you had it. I think the antibody. I know a lot of people told me I should have had the antibody test done. I didn't think about it at the time because at the time when I was sick, no one knew what it was in early January. Zach, you and I both didn't know what it was in January. I think if you want to get technical, this virus is here before we start testing. We just start testing around March late or late January to be exact. So who knows where it was at the time? It's just when you start testing, you gotta look at it. So antibody people, I think they'll be fine. I think once you get more control of what's going on, I think everything's gonna be okay.
And the final question on this segment, Gavin, will the Rockets go deep this year in the playoffs? How deep do you see them going?
How far can small ball get them is what the real question is. There's great centers in the West. Rudy Gobert, Anthony Davis, Nikola Jokic, who skeptical on because he lost a lot of weight. If Zion makes it, Zion's going to be in it. Who else?
Even power forward center duo, I think that you're right. It's overwhelming. So I think I can see them conference final. They could make a little bit of a run, but the Rockets are going to have to figure out something after this year. I think they've had a good starting point. But other than that, Gavin, any final statements on that before we get to our final segment?
I think Rockets on semifinals.
Semifinals. It's going to be good. Obviously, we want to see the Los Angeles conference finals a year ago now when we were talking about that. But like I mentioned, folks, when we're talking about the Madden ratings after this, Carson Wentz and Dak Prescott, both in 84. We're going to break all that down next. Would you like to know how you can support the More Than Philly Sports Talk Show? If so, head down to the comments on our YouTube channel. You will see two links there. The first is our Teespring, where you can see a wide variety of apparel products, including our signature product, the More Than Philly Sports Talk Show sweatshirts, offered in a variety of different colors, including gray, navy blue, and more. Finally, we have our Patreon page, where you can become a monthly donation member. 10% of all donations go towards an organization of our viewers' choice. We hope that you enjoyed today's episode, and if you can't donate, that's okay, because and again, for those who maybe weren't here yesterday, this month's donations will be donating to the Minority Entrepreneurs. There's an organization that we have found that we'll be donating to. It supports both Black and Latino-run businesses, providing funding for them who maybe aren't able to get funding through a traditional bank loan. So we look forward to continuing that. We're breaking down right now some of the information for the Shriners Hospital donations, and we're going to let you know how all of that works after this. Yep. So, Gavin, I'm going to read all the Madden ratings to you, and then we're going to break it down. I have it here pulled up. Let's get started with it. With no surprise, coming into the best Madden rating, Patrick Mahomes at a 99 overall, Russell Wilson at a 97, Lamar Jackson 94, Drew Brees 93, Tom Brady 90, Aaron Rodgers 89, Matt Ryan 87, Deshaun Watson, 86. Dak Prescott, 84. And Carson Wentz, 84. First thoughts, let's hear it.
First of all, why is not Russell Wilson? Why is Aaron Rodgers at 89? That's a 90 right there. Tom Brady should be at 89. From a guy that plays a lot of Madden, I know Deshaun Watson should be at least a 92. I know that. Why is Matt Ryan ranked so high? He should be at 84. Carson Wentz should be 85. Dak Prescott maybe 85 as well. And you got to go off, the records. That's how I'm looking off the records. What team went where in that situation? Matt Ryan has no reason to be that high. No reason to be that high. It's a disgrace. Where's Jimmy Garoppolo at? Well, remember, guys, the run game is where Jimmy Garoppolo's overall probably gets, downgraded from. So, Lamar Jackson, what? You said 93, right?
Lamar Jackson, 94. Drew Brees, 93.
I think 94 is respectable for Lamar. I think maybe you could give him 95, but that's just me, a Lamar fan. But I think 94 is the correct side. Madden, that is true, Philly. Philly said Madden ratings are just bad. That is so true. They don't know how to rate anybody. They really don't. How and to go back to Patrick Mahomes being a 99 overall. Well deserved, right? Right, Zach? But tell me how Josh Allen has a better throw power than Patrick Mahomes.
I don't disagree with that. I think Josh Allen has a really huge arm. I don't think it has anything to do with accuracy or anything like that. I think throw power is a different factor. There's obviously other ones as well. Lamar Jackson's speed, very insane. But let me ask you this, Gavin. And the comment here says Dak and Wentz should be an 89. Do you think Dak and Wentz should be at the same Madden rating, even if it's higher?
I think Dak should be one below Carson Wentz because of what Carson Wentz had to endure last year without having anybody around him. I think 85, maybe 86 for Carson Wentz. Maybe 85 for Dak, but if you want to go, I don't think they should be the same. They had different outcomes to the season, and they also had different players to work around with. Also,
and let me say this.
Yeah.
And let me say this. Yes, the last four MVPs. Matt Ryan, 87. Tom Brady, 90. Lamar, 94. Or Mahomes, 99. And Lamar, 94. Carson Wentz, if he won the MVP, assuming that he is 3 points behind Matt Ryan and 6 points behind Tom Brady, two of the past MVPs. Do you think he's getting an immense amount of disrespect from Madden?
And especially from the Matt Ryan standpoint. Matt Ryan has not done anything since his Super Bowl year, Zach. Since his Super Bowl year. They've been utterly horrible. They've just been horrible.
Also, it's Julio Jones. And let's talk about this, though, too. Let's break this down. Let's look at the best wide receivers for each team. Okay, Patrick Mahomes is a very talented player. I like where he is, but he has Tyreek Hill. Russell Wilson, he has Tyler Lockett, DK Metcalf. I think Russ is a good spot. Lamar, Marquise Brown, hot and cold. I give him that. Drew Brees. You got Michael Thomas. Julian Edelman for Tom Brady. Aaron Rodgers, weapons are talked about a lot, but he still has Devontae Adams. But Matt Ryan has Julio Jones. Deshaun Watson had DeAndre Hopkins. Dak Prescott had Amari Cooper. Carson Wentz had
Alshon Jeffrey.
Boston Scott. I don't know who he had. JJ Arcega-White. I don't even know. So Wentz is the worst on this list, but he also didn't have the best wide receivers and had a better record than Dak, a better record than Matt Ryan, pretty close to guys like Deshaun Watson, and then you look at guys like Russell Wilson. Probably would have beat them if he stayed healthy in that playoff game. Again, Russell Wilson should be a 97. I think all those guys are pretty fair. I'll give you my re-rankings, and then I'll ask you yours. Mahomes, I give him 99. Russ, 97. Lamar, 94. Brees, I give a 91. He's 93 currently. Brady, I give an 87. He was a little off last year. He's a 90 right now. Rodgers, a 91. He's a very talented player. Matt Ryan, I give him like an 85 because he does throw some interceptions. Deshaun Watson, 87 or an 88, increasing his speed and mobility. Dak Prescott, an 84 to an 85 because of his interceptions are a little bit of a problem. And Carson Wentz, I give him an 87. I think that's where he comfortably would sit. Gavin, let me ask you these. Do you like where Mahomes and Russ are at 99 and 97?
I do.
How about Lamar? How about Lamar at 94?
I do. And you could have made the case for 95. He wasn't the best passer last year. So 94 is perfect, in my honest opinion.
And how about Drew Brees at 93?
I think he needs to be a 92. Drew Brees didn't really do that well last year. I mean, and you can make the case saying, well, you're throwing to Michael Thomas. But remember, they also got bounced out of the playoffs early, too. And Drew Brees threw a couple interceptions. He had a fumble. And a fumble, too.
All righty, and so Tom Brady had a 90.
I think Tom Brady should have been an 86, 87. Tom Brady did not look his best at all last year, not one bit, and especially the last game versus the Miami Dolphins was horrible. Was horrible. He had a horrible game, and even against the Tennessee Titans wasn't that good either. I think 86 would have been fine. 87 for Tom Brady.
All righty, and then Aaron Rodgers at 89.
90. He should have been a 90 or 91 at
Disrespectful.
most. Zach,
Still an MVP candidate, in my opinion.
Aaron Rodgers? Yep. Yes. Look, you gotta take into account. Aaron Rodgers at one point wasn't throwing to anybody. Yes, I know the run game was saving Aaron Rodgers a lot with the defense and stuff, but the record out speaks for himself. He had a better record than the Saints as well. And put this in counter as well. Think about it. Aaron Rodgers was accurate for the most part.
Almost no picks. 4 interceptions last year. 4.
Yeah, 4. And he's an 89. That's a disgrace. Come on, EA, do better.
Alrighty, Matt Ryan at 87.
He should be an 80. But I'm gonna be fair. I'm gonna give him an 83. Because what has Matt Ryan done ever since the Super Bowl? Nothing. He has done absolutely nothing to be that high. You know what? Next year when Madden comes out, I'm gonna do an engage 8 on Matt Ryan. Let's see what he could do with that 87 overall.
Alrighty, and then we got 3 more. Deshaun Watson at 86.
I think he could have been an 89. 89, 90, more like an 88, around those 3 numbers. I know he was thrown to DeAndre Hopkins and Will Fuller, but he wasn't that inaccurate last year. He was making a lot of amazing plays, and his team went to the playoffs, went to the second round to be exact. You know, you blow a 21-point lead to the Chiefs, and ultimately you go on to lose horribly, and just go on from there. I think 89 would have been perfect for Deshaun Watson.
Alrighty, and now, last but not least, Carson Wentz and Dak Prescott, both 84 piece. Where are you putting them?
I think Dak 85. I think Carson Wentz 86. You can't go one above the other. You can go one above the other, but you can't go high above one. Carson Wentz, you got to look at who he was throwing at. You know, Carson Wentz was throwing with practice squad wide receivers at one point and was still winning games. Dak Prescott has all his wide receivers and didn't make playoffs. That should be enough said right there. Carson Wentz, sometimes he look as accurate as we know he could be, but it wasn't horrible. He completed a lot of his passes, and Dak Prescott same way. But Dak Prescott, the argument is when Dak Prescott's down, even though Dak had more yards and they were the highest offensive yards in the whole league, because they're always coming from behind and throwing the ball, winging the ball. They're not playing ahead like sometimes the Eagles were. And they had all the wide receivers, and they had everybody on the offense was there except for Travis Frederick. But I think an 84 or 85 for Dak and an 86 for Wentz would have been fine. Yeah, I'm disappointed in you guys.
Alrighty, and now the final thing of today. We have about a minute and a half to go over. We're going to break it down further tomorrow. First impressions. Jason Peters is back. Gavin, what are some thoughts?
I like it. We got a lot of young offensive linemen that you can learn from all of these guys up front. Lane Johnson's not that old. Brandon Brooks, I know he's out right now. Speedy recovery for Brandon Brooks. Jason Kelce getting a little bit older now. But if you bring back Jason Peters, you can learn from him. He can mentor them. Hopefully they can learn a lot of things. So when it's their time to go in wherever their respective teams are, maybe it's here, maybe it's not, they'll be ready to go. Personally, I hope after this 1-year deal, I hope Jason Peters stays to be an offensive line coach because he would be a great mentor. And by the way, he will be a Hall of Famer at the end of this season, or whenever he will be a Hall of Famer.
Dear Doug Peterson, you have 2 of the best O linemen in the league, 3 of them, including Kelce, on that right side. Please run the ball. With that being said, thanks everybody for joining us today. We're going to break down probably our first topic tomorrow, Jason Peters, as we learn a little more about it, some more film analysis and breakdown. But other than that, thanks everybody for joining. We had a great contribution today in the comment section. Always love to see it. It helps keep the show alive. So appreciate everybody for joining us. We'll be back tomorrow.